Lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance.
Would everybody please stand? At this time, I would like to have a moment of silence. Go to your being in your own individual way. Thank you. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you.
At this moment, does any board member have a conflict of interest? Seeing and hearing none, we will now move on to recognitions.
Recognitions is an opportunity for the Board of Supervisors to recognize achievements in our community with a focus on the accomplishments of students, employees, and our citizen volunteers who serve the county of Prince Edward. The employee of the month this month is Deputy Peter Carter. Is he here? Hi, nice to meet you. Come on up, Sheriff. Sorry, I haven't met you yet. Nice to meet you.
Yes, he is. Yeah.
The employee of the month for April is Deputy Peter Carter. Deputy Carter is always willing to help out, even when it is not within his job description. He volunteers to cover additional shifts, and his paperwork is always done to perfection and on time. A positive attitude and his devotion to fellow deputies make Peter an incredible asset to Prince Edward County Sheriff's Office. Thank you for all you do.
You all right, Liz?
Congratulations, Peter.
We don't know how to take a picture unless it's up in the air.
Steve, you just come out, Frank. Where do you want to be? We would like to take this opportunity to congratulate Steve Lee on his retirement. His hard work and dedication over the last 30-plus years is appreciated, and he will be deeply missed. Congratulations.
Guess we should stay where we are. Behind me again.
We'll only use your name today, and we can't find things.
No. We don't want that. Take over here. We don't want that album.
All right. Thank you, sir. Thank Steve's a good boy. Fine young man. Yes, ma'am. We graduated school together.
At this time, we will have public participation, and I see two people that are signed up. And you want to call that
You want me
name?
to call him?
Yes.
Connor Eichelman.
Ready? Hello, everybody. First off, thank you for allowing me the chance to speak tonight. My name is Connor Eichelman. I'm a senior at Hampton-Sydney College and a resident of the Hampton District, and I'd like to briefly comment on the discussion regarding the Public Safety Director position. I have been very interested in following the progression of this over the past several months. This is something that is very relevant to every citizen of the county, but especially to people like me. I have been a volunteer with Company 2 Hampton-Sydney Volunteer Fire and Rescue for the past 3.5 years. I've been a volunteer with Prince Edward Rescue for the past 2.5 years. And I've been an employee of Meharan Volunteer Fire and Rescue for the past 1.5 years. So I believe that the Public Safety Director position would be a great opportunity for the county to move forward and standardize. But the position of Public Safety Director is not what drove me to speak tonight. Instead, are some of the comments that were made during that meeting that I saw in the Farmville Herald, which deeply disturbed me. Namely, one of the members of the Board of Supervisors stated that volunteering is down. I can't disagree with this. I've seen it firsthand in the past 3.5 years. Volunteering is down in this county. But the reasoning behind why volunteering is down, I think, is where there may be some disagreement. Because when I read the article, what I saw was being told that I do not have the drive to work. I heard that I would rather sit on my phone instead of going out and supporting the community that I've fallen in love with over the past 4 years, that I have spent a tremendous amount of my time and my energy and my health in order to protect. And this was something that was deeply wounding to me. And I don't want to just make this speech into complaining about what was said. Instead, I'd like to point to something else. Instead of pointing fingers at why volunteering is down, I'd ask that the Board of Supervisors consider ways to improve the situation and look for solutions. Things like increasing the property tax relief that will be suggested by the Prince Edward County Association of Fire Departments, and considering a live-in program, which I know had been discussed in the past by Prince Edward Rescue and by Company 2 Hampton-Sydney Volunteer Fire and Rescue. Again, I would like for all of us to work together to support this community that we all care about and that we've all sacrificed a tremendous amount of our time and energy for, as opposed to pointing fingers and casting aspersions and blame on people who may be younger than us. Thank you for your time.
Thank you, sir.
Let's see, Carter Spawn?
Spawn.
Okay.
Yeah, I would like to second that. Thank you all for inviting or letting us come to speak tonight. My name is Carter Spawn. You know, I'll apologize. My voice is a little raspy. I'm getting over something that, funny enough, I think I caught on a call. But similar to Mr. Eichelman, I'm a junior at Hampton-Sydney College. I've been, at the Hampton-Sydney Fire Department for about 3 years now. I'm a paid provider at Meharan Fire and Rescue. And while I'm not here to speak on behalf of these organizations, I'm also very involved in the public health and public safety realm here in the county. I was recently elected as Assistant Chief of Hampton-Sydney Fire Department. And similarly, I'm very interested in seeing the county standardize public health and safety. And I'm really excited to be part of this conversation. And I won't ramble on for too long. Connor really hit it on the head. You guys don't know him, but he's a hard act to follow. Yeah, some of the comments in the Herald article were somewhat disheartening. I spend a lot of time working, particularly with the college kids, trying to recruit them, get them involved in the department. We have local individuals that do a lot better getting community members involved. So like I said, I take more of a stance getting college kids involved. So trust me, I understand how hard it is. And it's sometimes a big ask of them. And I did have guys that I work with that at 2 a.m. I'm sitting with in the rig asking, why are we doing this? I don't feel lazy when I'm out here at 2 a.m. And, it's a hard thing to explain to them. But again, I'm excited to open up this conversation and hopefully we can have better dialogue, more open. And like Mr. Eichelman said, less finger pointing and more active discussion and working together to solve this stuff. I know I've got a short time in this county, but similar to him, I've fallen in love with this place. I spend more time here than I do at home, and I only live an hour away. So thank you all for letting us speak tonight, and yeah, I appreciate it. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Is there anyone else who would like to speak during public participation? Thank you kindly. At this time, we will have Board of Supervisors comments. Mr. Emmert?
I want to say thank you each and every one of you for being here this evening. I think that most of those comments were directed towards me, and I'll take full credit for what I said. I think it was taken a little bit out of context, but that's neither here nor there at this point. I'll stand by what I said. I appreciate each and every one of you here. I appreciate the ones of you that do volunteer. I appreciate the ones of you that work even if you're paid. Thanks for being here and continue the good work.
Thanks for being here tonight. Appreciate your support.
Yeah, I'll echo previous comments. Thank you for coming. Thank you for your engagement and holding us accountable as we try to be wise and discerning and just good stewards of this great community. Gentlemen, thank you for coming and voicing your concerns. It's important that us, as the next generation, can continue to do so, and we can't do it without gentlemen such as yourselves stepping up. So I appreciate you coming and sharing with us tonight. That's all I have. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Mr. Jenkins?
Thank y'all for coming. Glad to see all y'all here. Have a good, safe drive home.
Obviously, I'd say welcome everyone. Thank you for coming. To the guys serving, I attended your year-end Christmas party. I couldn't believe how you all do that and give so much of your time. And, you know, most people are unwilling to do what successful people are willing to do and servants are willing to do. And I really appreciate it. Thanks so much.
Dr. Pryor?
Good evening. I thank everybody for coming. Two young men from Hampton, Sydney. I really thank you. At my town hall meeting, I had representation of the fire department, and I brag about you all the time. I give kudos out to Mr. Steve Lee for your retirement. And I looked back there and tried to recognize that tall young man. Peter Carter, I am so proud of you. You know, I remember Peter when he was at the high school, former high school student. You've done an awesome job. Keep on doing what you're doing, and I'm so proud of you. Thanks so much.
Mr. Gillum?
Glad to see everybody. Congratulations to Mr. Carter. Job well done. Steve, we graduated school together. He's put in a lot of time, about the finest young man I've ever known. And I noticed both of us are getting a little light up here. But thank you all for being here. And I hope we can help each and every one of you when we can. Thank you.
I'd like to say thanks to every person that is here this evening. And I'm going to make a statement. We're not going to have a discussion about it. But I would like to say that Prince Edward County is pleased with the court's ruling today. And I thank you all, and you have a great evening. Okay. Consent agenda? Any questions?
Madam Chair, if there are no additions or deletions, I move that we approve them as presented.
I got one, go ahead, Jerry, that, for you, in the minutes, page 51.
Okay.
I think it's page 51. Talking about the road. You're talking about Mountain Creek, and I think she said it was written that it's Mountain Creek back to Schultz Mills need to be paved. But it's Mountain Creek to Lee Mountain Road that need to be paved. Yeah, it says it was just the opposite.
The Schultz Mill.
Yeah.
That needs to be changed.
It need to be changed to Lee Mountain.
And I amend my motion that it be approved as corrected.
Second.
It has been motioned and second. Mr. Gillum?
Yes.
Dr. Pryor?
Yes.
Mr. Watson?
Yes.
Mr. Jenkins?
Yes.
Mr. Jones?
Yes.
Mr. Townsend?
Yes.
And Mr. Emmert?
Yes, ma'am.
Patty Cooper Jones, yes. Thank you kindly. At this time, we will ask for the community partner updates, Mr. C. Scott Davis, Town of Farmville Manager.
Good evening, everyone. Thank
Good
you all
evening. Good evening.
for having me here. I was scheduled to be here, I think, a month or two ago, and I decided I'd wait till it was a lighter agenda to come visit you all. I want to start off by just giving you some updates about what's going on in town now and then a little bit into the future. Recently, we awarded a paving contract. This time of year is when we usually do that. That the paving will be done by June 30 for this fiscal year. It's about $1.1 million in paving that'll occur in the town of Farmville this year. The streets, just so you're familiar with it, is Barrow Street, Creekwood Trail, Edmond Street, Fayette, 4th Avenue, Franklin, Griffin, Hill, Irving, Pinecrest, Redford, School, 3rd Avenue, and Wilson. So we try to do different sections that need it at different times. So for this year, that'll be milling and paving in those areas. The splash pad, I wish I could tell you it was totally complete, but it's not yet. The company that's doing the construction is out of Arizona. I guess they didn't realize the winters that we have when they started this project. And so they should be back this month and hopefully finish this month or in May. And then that project will be complete except for some restroom facilities that are going to be, that are in the upcoming budget, the FY 24-25. Grove Street Park will have some new equipment hopefully by the end of June. I guess in 2017, 18, there was some equipment that was renovated or new, and then this is another step in that and replacing some of that with some newer equipment. Tomorrow night, council will hold a public hearing at their meeting on the proposed FY 24-25 budget. The total budget is about approximately $25.4 million. General fund is $15.4 million. Street maintenance fund, which comes from VDOT for us to maintain our roads, is $2.3 million. Water fund is $3 million. The sewer is $2.5 million. Transportation, which is the FAB, is $925,000. The airport is $1.1 million to make that $25.4. Some highlights of this upcoming year's budget. We are adding one additional full-time firefighter. That'll bring us to a fire chief, a paid fire chief, and 3 full-time firefighters to go along with our volunteer staff. And then we're also hiring a part-time recreation position. We have 2 full-time positions now, but as our programs continue to increase as far as summer camp, football, pickleball, which is growing, and a lot of others, there's a need for an additional part-time position. Some of the other highlights, we're providing a $3,000 across-the-board raise for all full-time employees and $1 an hour for part-time employees. 5 new police cars. We'll be getting new 911 call handling equipment in our emergency communications center. The fire department will be getting a new EMS vehicle, and we'll begin phasing of renovations. Believe it or not, Town Hall was opened in 2007, and so it needs probably a little refresh on the paint and different things. And so we're going to do that in phases, along with the train station, which is rented on a regular basis. And then our public works building is in need of some renovation along the way. So we'll do that in 3 phases as well. Some other things, we have a conditional use permit pending. It'll be heard by our planning commission next Wednesday night on a 12 megawatt solar project off of Cedar Lane. And we're continuing to discuss planning and development ordinance for the town. And then just to let you all know, I think probably Mr. Stanley has shared this with you, but the town is obviously supportive of the radio system upgrades and is partnering, one of the partners in that with you all so that we can have a better system for all of our public safety individuals. So, open for any questions.
Can I put a plug in for a road to be paved at some point?
You can.
Randolph Street, off of 3rd Street, next to the Presbyterian Church there. It's tricky because it is a street. It looks like it's the parking lot of the church. So it kind of gets caught in between of whose job it is to pave.
I will tell you, some of those streets will probably hold off on paving until the roundabout is complete. There's several streets in that area. When I said Griffin tonight, we're not going all the way to High Street. We're only going to about Madison Street because of that road will change in the roundabout project, where it'll veer towards the left and go through some of the houses where Longwood owns now.
Okay.
And so in that area is when we will probably do a lot of those roadways in the
This
future.
road is the one that T-bones into the rails to trails
Okay.
down in the bottom. So I don't think that would be affected by it, but just to add to the list. I know there's always a list of, where the money's gonna go first.
Yes, sir.
Thank you.
Anybody else?
What do you think, you roundabout?
Thanks.
Thank you so
Thank you,
much.
Doc.
It's supposed to be, actually, we have a meeting on it in April 17th. But right now, tentatively, it is scheduled to go out to bid in September of '26, and construction will start in '27.
Meanwhile, those houses have been sitting there empty for years. Twice now, I've been behind either second, third, or fourth, the first car at that intersection where the roundabout is. And if you go over that line, if that car in front of you goes over that line, the light doesn't change. And somebody got out and told them, and everybody backed up. It changed, but it was stuck until then. I did not know that.
Yeah,
You all know that.
It's based on the camera. All of the traffic lights in town are activated by camera. And so it is positioning us at the stop bar for it to trigger the cycle.
So it's showing that the car's going.
But yes, the roundabout will, the first phase, it's going to be in 2 phases. The first phase will be at least 10 months, and that's the phase where the houses will go, and they'll build part of the circle and some changes on High Street. And then the second phase is the other streets.
Thank you, Mr. Davis. We
Y'all have a good
appreciate
evening.
it.
Thank you.
You do as well. Next, we have Dr. Barbara A. Johnson, the Superintendent of Prince Edward County Schools.
Good evening, Madam Chair, Ms.
Good
Puckett, board members. Thank you very much for having me here today. I'd like to say, first of all, happy spring.
Happy spring to you.
It's nice to have warmer weather. And today was the first day that Prince Edward County Public Schools came back to school from spring break. And very, very busy day, productive. There are about 5 other things, though, that I'd really like to catch you up on. First of all is construction. Construction is moving along with Mosley Architects. We expect to have mobile classrooms positioned on our blacktop behind our elementary school in July, so that the 24-25 school year will begin in trailers for, mobile units for grades 3 and 4. So that's approximately 14, 15 classrooms that will be positioned on the blacktop. Mosley Architects will be at our school board meeting tomorrow to give a full presentation. So if you have the opportunity to watch it on YouTube, or if you'd like to come, you are welcome. But they will be there presenting the potential design for the outside, as well as how they're going to close the school in overall, because that was a primary factor for safety to close our school in. So it's a great opportunity to see down to the detail what is going on. Today, we actually, a small subcommittee actually picked out potential tile and flooring, other flooring for the school. So it's moving along in phases. The second thing I'd like to talk about is chronic absenteeism. I try to talk about chronic absenteeism whenever someone will give me a microphone because it is so important to have our children in school. We cannot expect them to be successful and to achieve if they are not in school. Chronic absenteeism, though, is much better, is still a problem. At our elementary school, our chronic absentee number is 21%. So again, just to briefly explain what chronic absenteeism is, if a student is absent more than 10% of the school year, then they are chronically absent. So at 180 days for the school year, 18 days absent, that student is chronically absent. So it is constantly a moving number. 21% for the elementary school is high. It's better than it was last year when we ended the school year. It was about 31, 32%, but it's still very, very high, especially for elementary students. The middle school is at 18%, and the high school is at 23%. The expected number is to be no more than 10%. So we are still working on that. We do have, I believe I've shared with you before, a support specialist who specifically works with attendance and chronic absenteeism and making sure that any family that is in need, that we follow up with that family for why their children aren't coming to school. Very, very helpful, but still not quite there. We have incentivized attendance significantly this year, more than we ever have. We have giveaways, we have pop-ups. A pop-up is when an administrator goes through the building on any given day randomly, and if you're in school, you can win a prize. Those are called pop-up days. Then we have larger incentives. We have a trip for our third and fourth graders, or maybe it's just fourth graders. Nope, third and fourth graders, going to Washington, D.C. in the spring. That's an attendance incentive. So we're doing everything that we can possibly think of, making phone calls, et cetera, but still we need to get that percentage down. Wanted to also share that testing begins in 2 weeks. Testing is standards of learning testing, so our SOL test will begin in 2 weeks. That will take up just about the entire month of May. And May 18th is graduation. So we accelerate the administration of the test for our seniors so that we can get graduation practice in, and Saturday, May 18th is graduation. So the only other thing that I'd like to share is if you want to keep up with us, make sure that you know what's going on and in the know, to either visit our website or download our app. We have an app that you can, we've had it all year, I don't think we promoted it well enough, but download our app and you can find out the most current events to date. So I encourage that. Any questions?
What time is your meeting with Mosley and where at?
It's at our school board office, so 35 Eagle Drive. And our school board meeting starts at 5:30. We have public comment at 5:45. Forgive me, I just have to go through the whole thing. 5:45. We have the public hearing on our budget at 6. So probably about 6:15-ish, they should start presenting. Mhm. Yes, sir.
Regarding the chronic absenteeism, are there any answers found? I mean, and it's got to be almost unknowable sometimes. I mean, obviously, it's more of a parent thing in most instances, I guess, than a kid thing, that parents don't make them go to school like ours
It is-
made you and I go.
Right. I was made to go. Oh, absolutely.
Right. Not anything more than that, I don't suppose. I mean, like, the kids aren't banged up from COVID mentally or anything. I mean, I'm just trying to, why now? And
Overall, no. For the high school numbers were always higher than the other levels. And that's because they're high school students. They know how to drive, they know how to get around, not getting on the bus, et cetera. So the high school numbers usually were around 19% anyway, so they were always high. Not quite this high, but relatively speaking, they're not too far out of the ordinary. However, the elementary school was always around 10, 13%. A lot of it has to do with children being ill. Parents, we were so diligent about telling parents, if your child is sick, stay home. And that was the message. And that still is the message. If your child is really sick, stay home. But sometimes just a sniffle is not enough to stay home. So that's a really precarious tightrope that we walk, because we don't want sick children in school, but at the same time, we want to make sure children get to school. Sometimes children get there, they do get there late sometimes. They're counted if they're late, but they're still missing instruction. If they're picked up too early, they're still missing instruction, but it does still count. But most of that is children just illness and parents deciding that they have something else that they need to attend to that day, so they take their children with them, doctor's appointments, whatever the appointment may be. That's what's usually happening at the elementary level. The middle school, they're doing better than the others. They're getting on the bus and they're coming, so. But other than that, that really is it. Now, I don't want to negate the fact that the pandemic did have significant impact on the mental wellness and mental well-being of our children. It did. So we are seeing children who are in need of additional supports, emotional supports. So we are, but that's not necessarily why they're not in school. In fact, school is the better place to be because we do have some of those supports.
So my question is, absenteeism is an issue. I understand what you're saying, but that's kind of outside of your control. The construction is outside of control, at least as far as the school is concerned. So in your opinion, what is the number one area that the school can grow or improve on, or the biggest challenge that you're seeing that's in your control that administration and faculty is going to work towards growing in?
Teaching and learning, specifically around literacy. That's the thing that is in our control that we are working on, that we are beginning to work on the state with, as a matter of fact. We have had a corrective action plan for several years that we requested. We requested a review 5 years ago to say, hey, tell us why we are not achieving at the levels that we should be or that we're expecting to be. And we had a corrective action plan in place. It's now time to redo that. And it's also time to look at how we're teaching reading and how we're actually teaching our children. And so we are in the process of changing some of those practices. And we are also, as is every other division in the Commonwealth, working on our literacy plan to make sure that we are teaching based on data that says how you should teach children how to read. Because reading is one of those things that you think every child knows how to read, especially when they get to the secondary level, but not necessarily. Not necessarily, not unless they are asked to read something or you're really working closely with them and you start to figure out that the child is not able to read the science text or the math text or the English text. So we are making sure, we are working on making sure that, that we are trained differently. And that's something that we've started this year, really making sure that we're focused on the science of reading as opposed to whole language, which was a different movement at a different time of study. But truthfully, yes, it is really outside of my realm, chronic absenteeism.
Sure.
But it has a significant impact on what we do.
Thank you.
You know for a fact that I've always been concerned about this absenteeism.
Yes.
I mean, 23% at the high school. If they are not doing well in the classes, what are they going to do on the SOL test? they're not gonna be able to read them and do well. That's a big, big concern. What other steps are being taken at the high school?
Some of the same types of incentives that, because as you mentioned, Mr. Jones, there's but so many things that we can do. So the high school's doing dances as incentives. They're doing day trips as incentives. They're simply trying to incentivize coming to school. As a division, we've incentivized coming to school. Our support specialist, Ms. Amos, has a major rally going on. But other than that, it's very difficult for us to make children come to school. What we are doing, though, there are some legal, because attendance is compulsory. So in code, children have to come to school. So the other part of what Ms. Amos does is she directly addresses families, and she files whatever necessary paperwork with the courts when it's necessary. When we have figured out that there's nothing else we have to offer, we do go that route.
And you look at the driving, take the driving privilege. But when you think about that, if you take that privilege of driving, they will not want to come. So you're in sort of a catch-22 situation.
Yes,
Which
ma'am.
means you're gonna have to work very closely and very hard with those parents.
Yes.
I mean,
I
that's a
absolutely
big
agree.
concern.
And some, believe it or not, some are very open to any support that we may provide or working in partnership with us, and some are not. And that's very difficult to believe and/or understand, but some are not. Some will say, I can't do anything with him, or I can't do anything with her. And then we try again. Not to be glib, but that is our choice, to try again.
How many families give you that response? Just as a general.
That's very difficult for me to say at this point, and I will tell you why. It's because when they call for me, the tone is usually different than when they're speaking to the attendance clerk or the administrator. So it's very difficult for me to give you a number, but usually by the time someone gets to me, it's there. And I research before I call. Before I call back, I do the research. I find out at the school-based level what's going on, what's the situation, what have we done? And then I make sure that I call back and listen to the concern. But also usually concerns around absenteeism don't come to me from parents.
Yeah, my question was just that since you mentioned that some of the parents seem apathetic about, the location of their children or their attendance, I was just curious about what percentage of the absentee is fully neglectful and what is, a number of appointments or illness or something of that sort.
With all due respect, I would not use the term apathetic, because I think that in any parent's mind, that they are doing the best that they can do.
Sure, I'm just trying to understand.
But there are some who, particularly when their children get older, so particularly in middle and high school, they tend to give more freedom because they think they're older and able to make better decisions, when that's not always true. In fact, we probably need to hold them tighter as they get older than say, okay, off you go. And I think it's a lot of that, where independence has been given and the child has taken somewhat advantage of that, and now it's difficult to bring the child back. But to be able to give you that number and that percentage, I understand exactly where you're going with it, but I can't do that.
Thank you.
I raised several children,
Yes, sir.
and I actually went out and sat in some classes and tried to see what some of the problems were, and there was a few that they would come in and write on the board, this is the day's lesson, and go sit down, and the children said, this is what you have to do today. I didn't like that, and I told them, I said, you need to engage with the children. You need
Absolutely.
to show them that you care about what they're doing, help them with something. And it really made a big difference in
Absolutely.
my children. That was a long time ago, but I just thought about that while we was just talking. In modern technology now, and my grandchildren, their mom and daddy, they can look right here and tell where they're at. And if they're not where they're supposed to be, why aren't you there?
Absolutely.
Yep, that would be not everybody's got these phones that do that.
But-
That might help a little.
Most with tracking devices, most phones, smartphones, it's easy to download a free app as a tracking device. So I absolutely agree with that. But something else that you said that I think is equally important, that I do think is within our realm, is to make sure that our instruction is engaging. And I will say that sometimes it is engaging and sometimes it is not engaging. And that is being very truthful. And that makes a big difference for some children. I was raised, my mother very clearly said, it doesn't matter whether you like it or not, you're going. And I revered my mother enough, or feared her enough, depending on how you thought about it. I was going. That is not necessarily the case these days. For some children, it's not as engaging as they want it to be. They have technology, cell phones, Chromebooks. They find other things to do.
The word I hear is they get bored real quick.
Yes,
And you really got to stay after them to keep them.
absolutely. And that responsibility of making sure that we are creating aligned and engaging instruction, that is on us. And that is something that we continue to work on. I think some years we have great success with that, and then I think some years we don't. I think some years we get excited about all the technology and forget that engagement is far more important than the technology. Technology is nothing but a tool.
Any further questions for Dr. Johnson? If not, thank you kindly.
Thank you so much.
We appreciate you. Have a
Thank
good
you.
evening. And now we will have Ms. Lynette Wright, Director of Elections, and our General Registrar.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen.
Good evening.
Good evening, Madam Chair and members of the board. I appreciate the opportunity to allow me to come speak with y'all tonight. I'd also like to address a lot of my comments and remarks to the community as well. You already introduced me, but for those who don't know me, I'm Lynette Wright, and I am the Director of Elections or the General Registrar of Prince Edward County. Most people think that Election Day is just one day, that you go in person and you vote at the polls. But in fact, early voting has been around since November of 2020 in the state of Virginia. Early voting, so I wanted to let people know about this because we do offer early voting for every election. So early voting allows for the citizens of Prince Edward County to vote in every election, whether it be a March or June primary, a November general, or a special election. It provides the opportunity to vote for 45 days ahead of every election. And you don't have to have any reason to do it. Before it started, you had to absentee vote, you had to have a reason by mail or in person, but this creates more opportunity for people to be able to come and vote other than on Election Day. The voter may vote in person or by mail, but the in-person only happens at our early vote room here at the courthouse on the second floor. I have had a lot of people that will call and say, I'm at my poll and y'all aren't open. And I'm like, that would cost way too much money to man every poll for 45 days. So we only offer the in-person early voting here at the courthouse for the 45-day period. This will probably make me see everything better here. We do have permanent absentee now, where the person can apply for an absentee ballot by mail. They can choose whether they want a single election. So they can, maybe this one coming up for June, they just want that election. Maybe they want the November and the primary election. Maybe they, just want the primary election. So on the application, you would pick which election you would prefer to get the ballots. Once you fill that out and it's completed, you will always get mailed a ballot. So if you just picked November ballots by mail, every November, you automatically get a ballot. You don't have to reapply, you don't have to call. It just automatically gets mailed out. So I know a lot of people that really like it. I do have a lot of people that say, how do you stop from getting these ballots? Because they didn't realize that it was every election that they signed up for, it was going to just automatically come. This also gives the citizens many opportunities and many ways that they may participate in any or all elections. We have several options. We have early in-person voting. We have by mail early voting. We have election day where you come and vote, and we also have same-day provisional. Drop boxes are also supplied at the polls on election day. So I have a lot of people that are like, well, I don't really want to mail it back. Well, we offer drop boxes at the polls on election day, each poll, where the voter can come in, drop it right in the box, and they come back to me on election night to be counted in the election. I also have a drop box in my office. So for that 45-day period, the person can come in and drop their ballot in the drop box. I have some people that'll call and say, hey, I'm out in the parking lot, where's your box? And I'm like, it's upstairs, you want me to come out? They are allowed to relinquish their ballot to me and electoral board members. So a lot of times I'll go outside just to keep them from having to come in, because a lot of times if they're calling, it's because they're in curbside voting. And there could be either age or disability could be the reason. Sorry, started with a sore throat earlier today. I think it's the allergies. Each scheduled election provides for 46 days in total that someone can vote, including election day. Virginia also offers curbside voting, but that is only to those 65 and older or disabled, and that's at all the polling locations on election day and here at the early vote room. We offer that for the whole 45-day period. We have a lot of people that take advantage of that service. Here in Prince Edward County, we started off the year with our January 9th special election for the Senate of Virginia. We only had 5 of our precincts that participated in that election because Prince Edward County got split into 2 Senate districts, 9th and 10th. That was called for on December 15th of 2023. We began early voting as soon as possible, and so that ran for 8 days. We wrapped up the canvass on January 12th, only to begin early voting January 19th for the March 5th Democratic and Republican primaries. So believe me, there was a whole lot going on in the office trying to overlap 2 elections. A lot of work. A quick reminder, primaries in Virginia are open primaries. Virginia does not register people by party, so you can choose to vote in any primary you would like. We just went through the March election where they had both elections. I won't know until probably tomorrow about the June one, but rumor is we're going to have another duel. So that means when you go to the polls on election day on June 18th, you would have to choose which ballot or which election you would like to participate in, because you cannot vote in both. The law says that when 2 primaries are held on a single day, the voter must choose only one primary election to participate in. It is against the law to vote in more than one primary election if 2 are held on the same day. So now we're currently, well, we've been preparing for this June 18th primary. Again, tomorrow we'll find out the candidates, so we'll be able to process further what we need to do. We begin early voting again on May 3rd. And again, the citizens will have 45 days to early vote. They can come during regular business hours here to the courthouse, 2nd floor, early vote in person. Also, we have to do our mailing. For March, we had around 650 ballots that automatically went out. So that, again, will be the same amount. And then, of course, people send in an application here and there, but we have those, like I said, those set ones that are on the permanent list that have to go out. After that, we will start preparing for the November 5th general election. The offices on that ballot will include electors for president and vice president, U.S. Senate, U.S. House of Representatives, 5th District, and 3 town of Farmville offices. We have Ward D, Ward E, and 1 at large. So to summarize the 2024 election season, the citizens will have had 3 to 4 elections this year, with an average of 143 days where they could have early voted if they choose to take that opportunity. Madam Chair and the board, thank you again for allowing me to address the citizens of Prince Edward County and the board. I hope that every resident realizes that there are many ways and many days for them to have the opportunity to vote. If anyone has any questions about voting, registering to vote, please do not hesitate to contact the voter registration office or just stop by my office. It's on the 2nd floor. And if you're interested in information about elections, results, requesting ballots, registering, the Department of Elections has a website. It's elections.virginia.gov. So much information there. There's links to register, to request ballots. They make it so easy to register. You have until 11:59 at night on the deadlines to register if you do it online. And as long as you have a T number off of your driver's license that attaches your signature and sends the application to my computer within an hour. So they make it so simple nowadays to register, to apply for ballots by mail. On the county website, we also make sure that we post election dates, notices, sample ballots. So I have a lot of people that call and like, how do I get a sample ballot? I'm like, it's on the county website. They're like, great, I'll download those. And other links, you can track your ballot. So when we do mail a ballot, it can be tracked to see when it was mailed, when it was delivered, when it came back to my office. So a lot of great tools on these websites. So that's a quick little summary. Does anybody have any questions for me? Need any information?
I have a question that's kind of like a two-part.
Sure.
Usually, how many workers do you have for early voting at the polls? Maybe at least 2? You have to have at least 2 workers?
Early voting here?
Yes.
So I have 1 employee that works early voting. And the reason I did that is because if it wasn't an employee, the law says I have to have 3. And when we have a primary, sometimes we have 0 people that vote for the day, but they still have to be paid.
And that was going to
So
be my
if I
next
have an
question.
employee there, I can either have just the employee or I can have an employee and 1 more worker, which is what I normally do. Because if someone does curbside calls from downstairs, we can't leave the room unattended with the ballots and everything. So we have that 1 person that'll run downstairs, take care of, outside and come back up.
So it doesn't matter the number of people that vote, because I know I voted early one day. I think I came in at 2:30, and I was the only person who had been in that day.
Yeah, during primaries, we have a lot of days with 0. I keep track of how many
Wow.
people I have since it started. So I have each day of early voting. Normally, the first 2 weeks, it's very, very slow. Presidential, when I say slow, we might have 45 to 50 people a day. We've had as much as 350 in a day during a president 2020. So we had 3,400 and some people early vote. We only have 13,600 and some odd people registered. So that was really good in 2020. I'll look for that again this year.
Yeah.
So, but primaries are usually, like I said, the first 2 weeks, it's like people don't even really know about it.
Right.
And then it picks up a little bit. And then the last 2 weeks is when we really start having people, at least some every day.
Thank you.
I just said, thanks for the good work. She's on it.
Yeah.
You all don't know, she's got it going on.
I try my best. Yes, sir.
Question. When you get early votes in, they're tabulated on
By
the
mail?
election day?
By mail.
Any early vote?
So early voting in person, when they come in, it's just like election day. they get issued a ballot, they vote it, they put it in the machine. There are no totals at any time. It's against the law to have any totals. So the ballots stay in the machine. The machine's locked up and sealed and documented every day. And it stays there. And then by mail, so that comes through my office. I handle the by mail. And the by mail comes in, we check them in, we make sure the envelopes are complete. If not, we have to contact the voter within 3 days and let them know that they didn't complete it and that, do they want to come in and complete it? Do they want us to send them affidavit? If we can't get in touch with them, we have to send a letter and the affidavit. And I'm a little annoying when people don't finish their ballot. I'll contact them and I just don't let it sit there one time. If they don't, it is a lot of time. If they don't come in when they're like, oh, I'm coming by Wednesday, and Thursday morning they didn't come, I'm like, hey, did you forget to come by here? We're still here waiting on you. But they have until the Friday after the election at noon to fix their ballots. That's called curing. But yeah, the by mail I handle, we have to by law pre-process. We have to do it the week before the election. We have to start. Now during a presidential, in 2020, I had almost 2,000 ballots. So we had, you could start earlier to make sure that everything's processed. The small ones that we've had recently, we've just done it the normal time. So that Tuesday, we would bring in our 3 poll workers that are my CAP poll workers. And they will process the ballots in the machine. The machine's sealed, locked up, put into a room, locked up. No ballots are looked at, touched, and there are no totals at any time. It's against the law to have any totals printed before 7 o'clock on Election Day. On Election Day, you're not allowed to hand count any ballots that won't run through the machine. You're not allowed to hand count them until after 2 o'clock. So there's a lot of different rules in place to protect secrecy of ballots. Yep, welcome. Anybody else?
Thank you, Ms. White. We appreciate it.
Thank you.
Have a wonderful evening. At this time, we'll move to Highway Matters. Mr. William L. King, Jr., the Assistant Residency Administrator.
Good afternoon, Madam Chair and board members of
afternoon.
Prince Edward
Good
and
afternoon.
citizens of Prince Edward County. Glad y'all let me come in, get you updated today. We're in the process right now of continued brush cutting. As I mentioned to y'all earlier in the month that had a new evergreen machine that we're working on 460 and 360 on the left-hand side. They're about to wrap that up, so we're going to be sharing that with our sister county in Charlotte County. And they're going to continue to run our right-handed boom axe and get those shoulders and mediums cleaned up as best we can. Pothole repair, that's an ongoing thing right now till this weather rain. We're answering work orders. We just finished up in Prince Edward County our end of season snow dry runs, which entails we go over every piece of equipment. We take out the snow equipment, make sure it's ready to go for next year, and we get ready for mowing season, machining roads, that type of equipment, and we'll be going pretty wide open here in the next week. So it sounds like we're supposed to get some 80-degree weather, so you're gonna see us moving a whole lot of parts. We're starting to do some pipe repair. We're gonna concentrate a lot this year on pipe repair. We got a lot of pipe that are failing in Prince Edward County, either by age or by this contractor that's burying all this cable in Prince Edward County. We're trying to get that taken care of. Pavement repair, we're gonna be working on that a lot, and gravel road maintenance. Mr. Emmert, Dollar General, I think I got that taken care of for you.
Yes, sir, thank you very much.
And Mr. Townsend, I think the pipe is in place over at Ridge Road, and I think that's doing good.
Saw it yesterday.
Yep, and we got the tree, we contacted citizens with the tree at 22 Road and 650. 2 of them have signed, one has got a bunch of things they want us to do, so we're trying to work through it, because usually when our contractor come down and take a tree out, it's their tree until they put it on the ground. They'll usually leave it if a citizen wants it, but it was a whole lot of extras this citizen wanted, so we're trying to work through that, so we're trying to get that down and out the way. So I gotta give Danny a good kudos for trying to work that out with the citizen, with the contractor.
Wanted to put it in the woodshed for them, didn't they?
Not quite, just, they wanted to leave it there for mulch and critter, yeah. So we're trying to work with them. So bear with us, and I thank y'all for working with Brian and I on the 6-year plan this year. As new to me and him for Prince Edward County, appreciate it a lot. You know, not eating us alive, so to speak. You know, we're processing. I did take down your information, and we're gonna get that straight before it's finalized. And Brian would have liked to have been here tonight, but Brian, he had a muscle right in his arm tore loose, and he had to get a surgery on his arm, so he's gonna be out a couple of weeks. Scott, we're hoping is gonna be back. We're looking at somewhere late May, maybe June, depending on the pool that they're pulling for that job he's filling in for right now. So bear with us. If not, you can see my lovely face again.
You're doing a fine job.
Tell him we haven't missed him.
Yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am. I sure will.
All right, one of y'all wanna?
Go ahead, Jerry. Go ahead.
I'm good.
Well, good.
I'm good, Bill. You know, one quick question. I had a call today from some individuals on the road. There is nothing taken back into, I wouldn't say back, there is nothing taken into the state now that was, you know, at one time, if there were so many residencies and so long that they would take it into the state. You all don't do that anymore, do you?
Unfortunately not. It has to be ready for us to take into the system, and I believe that person was probably from Toggle Road. So, yep, I seen the work order come in today, and our lady called them back to get them to contact you just so we can full circle this. But yes, they have to be brought to standards of VDOT and ready to be taken into the system before we take them in.
At their expense.
Yes,
That's the old rural edition.
yes,
Correct.
yes.
Bill, don't forget Oak Grove, fully ditch lines and.
Yes, sir. Yep. I'm sure Danny's got it on his list, but I will see where he's got it at.
Bill,
Yes.
kudos to whoever you all have cutting trees on the, I guess that's the western part of Prince Edward County. They're doing a terrific job.
Thank you. I will sure pass it on. Like I said, that new machine, is that the one you're speaking of in that median? Yeah, we had to go back and actually get a machete type head to go on that. We started with a smaller head and it didn't work. We went back and rented a bigger head for it and seemed like it's doing a good job now. And it's saving a lot of time. Yes, sir.
Singleton Road, when you go from Bethfield Church to Dalton Heights, last year they were mowing and they got mired up on the left-hand side of the road.
Uh-huh.
And the water's coming down the ditch line right to the edge of the road.
Is that right there where all that rock got put in the ditch?
Yeah.
Okay.
And they had to do that because of the spring draining down.
Yep.
But it needs to be pulled back.
That was back in the Johnny Chenault days.
It was. If you get off the edge right there, you just going all the way out.
All right, I get them to take a look at that. We don't want that to happen. Yes, sir.
Saw some general, did y'all hire the contractor to pick up the paper?
Yes, it's our mowing contractor.
Okay.
They knew that we weren't gonna spend all the snow money and had a little extra in the district. So we went to our mowing contractors that's part of their contract, just pick up litter prior to initial mowing. We asked them, would they be willing to do a total Prince Edward County wide litter removal, and they were. So we're paying them to do what we call a early litter removal. They done everything except for the gravel roads with this special money. We're getting ready to start the litter removal on the gravel roads 1st of May. And then the secondary mowing will start right after, a week after that.
Okay.
So May 1, the gravel roads will get picked up with trash, then we'll start secondary mowing right after that. Yes, it was. Somebody said very expensive. It was very
They
expensive.
may want to do a second trip to check, because some of the bags, I think they missing leaving some of the bags, trash pickup.
Okay,
And what's gonna happen is animal gonna get in and it's gonna be right back out there.
right.
So
It's
they may
the,
want to do it.
yeah, we'll get them to circle back because it's a requirement for them to pick the bags up, take count. And I'm hoping if either Scott or I, next month's meeting, we'll have maybe a count of how many bags of trash we picked up in this initial early pickup.
They did an excellent job on 15 South. I know going back toward Keysville.
Yes, sir.
And it really needed it, so they really looked.
Oh, yeah, it does. And yes, 200 and, let me see if I'm telling you right, it was $230,000 to pick your trash up one complete time.
200 what?
230,000 to pick your trash up one complete time in Prince Edward County. And that's not counting the gravel roads, and it's about 270 miles of gravel road in Prince Edward County. So we still got to go back and do those.
They've done a good job.
Bill, just want to thank you for your participation and attendance.
Yes, ma'am.
With
Thank
the
you.
town hall meeting, you did an excellent job.
Thank you,
And
ma'am.
they were appreciative.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you for inviting me.
Sure.
Okay. Any further questions? Thank you, sir.
Thank y'all. Y'all have a good night.
Thank
You
you.
too.
Mr. King.
Do we need to authorize it?
I think y'all authorized it at the work session, we just
Okay.
have to change the date.
All right. All right, at this time, we're going to ask Mr. Love to come to the podium. And this is in reference to public hearings, and he will discuss.
Madam Chairman, members of the board, this public hearing is to consider an ordinance amendment to allow additional signage on corner lots. The county received a request by Blackwood Capital LLC to amend the county zoning ordinance to allow for installation of additional signage at a convenience store and fuel station on a parcel of land, which is on the corner of Route 15 and Commerce Road. For those of you, this is the Wawa site. So what they wanted to do, they wanted to have additional signage on the back of the building facing the entrance that'll come off of Commerce. Currently, we have a stipulation that any business can have a maximum of one sign type per sign. So that'll be one monument, one building sign. So after we got this request, we looked at, to draft a ordinance amendment with new language that would, that was reviewed and authorized for public hearing with the Planning Commission. The Planning Commission held their advisory hearing on the 19th of March. No one spoke in opposition or support of this language. Planning Commission unanimously recommended approval of the proposed zoning ordinance amendment. What this does is allow an additional sign of each type on a corner lot only, so it doesn't open up every lot but a corner or a double road frontage. So if a lot has on a corner, or they have two roads, one on maybe the front, one on maybe the rear, they could have an additional sign type. So you have this, I've included the draft zoning ordinance amendment that was recommended by the Planning Commission. This hearing, of course, was duly advertised in the Farnborough Herald, and you've got an excerpt of the draft minutes from the Planning Commission. Just as a side note, Harbor Freight is a corner lot. That project should start construction on Monday, but they also want a second sign that would face Dominion. So this would allow them to file for a sign permit. And this only applies to corner lots in the county. We wrote it, and so any corner lot, if this was approved, could have additional signage on a corner lot building. County Administrator and I have been looking, also Trey, there's some sites that are approved, but they're grandfathered non-conforming. A couple of Dollar Generals have two signs already on the building, so this would bring them into full conformance. And there are some country stores that have some signs on both sides. So this will bring some of our older sites into full conformance. So I'd be glad to answer any questions that any of you might have of me.
There are no questions. I'm going to open the public hearing. No one signed up to speak for or against. Is there anyone in the audience who would like to speak at this time? Seeing and hearing none, close the public hearing. Thank you.
Madam Chair, one quick question. Robbie, on, I guess it's the very first design standard, I guess this is, well, the way it's written, it's going to change the square footage also.
No, this does not change it does not change the total square footage. It just changes the number of signs they can have.
The way it reads, it will change it. Each parcel or property occupied by building shall be permitted one freestanding stand which shall not exceed 30 square feet, except on a corner frontage lot which shall be permitted two of the freestanding. The except on the corner is all of the above. We either need to move that ahead of or 30 square feet.
I get what you're saying. We can do that.
Because I mean, the way it reads right now, that's on corner and double frontage lots, there is no maximum square footage the way it reads now.
I got you. We can add that. If you would like to make that part of your motion, we
I will,
can
and
make
let me-
that.
There was one more, hang on one second, Robbie. I was
Sure.
reading it. There's somewhere that, one of these, I think it's on page 103.
Okay.
No more than two of the following may be used for a single business location except on corner lots and double lots, which shall be permitted up to two of each size with a maximum allowance of 4. We need to just say with a maximum allowance of 4, because if you're permitting 2 of each, there's 4 each, that would be 8. We have double language there.
That's why the planning commission had that comment. They wanted to max out so you wouldn't have 8. You would have a maximum of 4. The applicant could choose whether they wanted 2 monuments, 2 storefront. So they would choose to get up to a total number of 4 signs.
Right, I understand what they're saying, but the word needs to be, Terry, tell me if I'm wrong. It should say something similar to, except on corner lots, which shall be permitted a maximum allowance of 4 signs total, rather than giving them.
I think you're trying to control the type. They can only have 2 types. Is that correct?
They could have a combination. They could have, for instance, they could have 2 monuments, then they might have a projecting and a pole.
So that you're not limited to types, but you're only limiting to 4. So it should,
Yes, they could have up to 2 of each type with a maximum of 4 total signs. So it's kind of, the intent there was to max out your total. I know what you're saying, but
okay.
we're letting them pick and choose. They can have 2 of one type and then 1 of 2 other types. But they can arrive how they want to get to 4, if you're okay with that language. I think that's the intent there.
Right. All right, if we can fix the first one.
Yes, sir, we've definitely, I thank you for that. Yes, that, we,
You made the motion.
That was my comment first. Are we ready for a motion?
Yes, please.
I would make a motion that we amend this with the exception of changing the wording on number 2 to allow 30 square feet only with 2 signs.
Second.
It's been motion and second. Mr. Gillum,
Yes.
Dr. Pride,
Yes.
Mr. Watson,
Yes.
Mr. Jenkins, Mr. Jones.
Yes.
Mr. Townsend,
Yes.
Mr. Emmett,
Yes.
Patty Cooper Jones, yes. Thank you, sir. All right, Mr. Love, would you like to discuss the withdrawing by the applicant?
Yes, we put this in your package so it would be on the record. The New Leaf Energy site, which had gone through the Planning Commission, which is a site on Old Ridge Road. It's been a point of contention with the neighbors. The applicant withdrew this of their own free will. So we had this, I had this email come through on March 25th, officially withdrawing this. This null and voids this application. So for anything to happen on that site, we have to start back over with application process, Planning Commission, et cetera. But we want to make sure that this got on the record on the permanent minutes because it was just in my email at this time. So, but this, you don't have to take any action on this. This was advisement, but we wanted to make sure we got this on the record.
Thank you, sir. All right, next, New Energy Equity LLC request for an extension of a special use permit.
So Madam Chairman, New Energy Equity is not affiliated with the previous site we discussed. It is the new name of Impact, if you look at your special use permit, which was approved, Impact Power Solutions. Back in 2022, the board approved a special use permit that approved a 5-megawatt solar energy facility on parcel number 043-A-36, totaling 36 acres. This was a Francis Reeve property off of Lama Road. IPS became New Energy Equity with a merger. So it is the same company, it's just under a new LLC. They filed and they have, we've got our siting agreements updated for all of that. But they've looked at their construction timeline, and you'll see in an attachment that they intend to mobilize in 2025 and finish in early 2026. We had extended this project out administratively per special use permit conditions as far as we could as staff. So the applicant looked at state code, and state code, there was a state code provision that could allow a locality by resolution to extend any application that was approved outstanding of July 1st, 2023 until July 1st, 2026. You have the option to pass this resolution without public hearing, but you certainly can have a public hearing. So that would be up to you all. Staff has drafted a resolution for your consideration, if you so choose to approve that tonight. We attached, of course, the conditions of approval. The site concept plan is not changed. And again, this isn't a previously approved site. They just need more time to build it. I'd be glad to answer any questions of me that you might have.
What was their first date, Robbie? Did they have it in stone, or was it just a?
We never had a site mobilization and construction sequence.
Okay.
Originally, when this was approved in 2022, the way the special use permit conditions were written, they were given a 2-year window to build it with a 1-year administrative extension. We did that, so that extended it through May 10th of 2025. But they just, if you look at their timeline, they're going to be beyond that May time frame. They're going to be pushing into 26. So that's what started this request of us, or you all, I should say. But apparently, materials have been slow for them to acquire. They've got bidding. They've got to get contractors on site. That's just what that's what they've requested. And like I said, the Code of Virginia has allowed, because of the fact that the state recognizes that materials and these projects are taking longer to get through State Corporation Commission, to get hooked on to the grids, et cetera. They're just taking a little bit longer.
And you say this was just a merger because it is a different name?
Yes, sir, it is. Impact Power Solutions merged into a new company. I have the same point of contact. They have the same people. They just have a new name.
Terry, does the same, when it becomes another LLC, are they still liable? How does that work? Because I know the way an LLC works to begin with is to absolve yourself from liability.
Well, if they, if they merged into the same entity and just changed their name, that's one thing. If they changed the whole shooting match, but what it sounds like that they just.
I can address this. We have sent, and we have an executed new siting agreement with New Energy LLC that we just got back from Ms. Atkins. So you're covered on this one.
Okay.
So this is not this is not that case.
I got you.
Okay, what's your pleasure?
I'll move that we approve the resolution to extend the SUP deadline for the construction and commencement of operation for the proposed civil facility by Impact Power Solutions LLC, identified in SUP number 2022-05-01 until July 1st, 2026.
I'll second it.
It's been motion and second. Mr. Emmert,
I'm going to say no.
Mr. Townsend,
Yes.
Mr. Jones,
No.
Mr. Jenkins, Mr. Watson,
Yes.
Dr. Pride,
Yes.
Mr. Gillum,
Yes.
Patty Cooper Jones, yes.
Thank you.
Okay, at this time, Mr. Powell, Public Safety Radio System.
Good evening, Board.
Good evening.
I'm gonna summarize the summary instead of getting into it, because we know how the radio system's been going, we know the process, I just remind y'all kind of what's going on. So, basically in, December of 2023, the Board of Supervisors authorized county administrator sign a contract with Motorola Solutions and also go out for financing for the public safety radio system. We have such done. Doug has went out with VMO Vaco, and I hope y'all have had some time to review some of the financial stuff that was in the package. I didn't realize it was as thick as it was when I started flipping through it myself. So in the short, VMO Vaco solicited proposals from dozens of banks, locally, regional, and national financial institutions. They received 4 proposals. Webster Bank proposed a fixed rate of 4.24% for 12 years and 4.36% for 15 years. The proposal includes an early redemption provision during the initial 3 years of the loan up to $4 million that would encompass the grants that we have identified. This will allow the county to move forward with the loan, time, apply for grants, receive notifications of awards, and potentially reduce the size of the borrowing. I will tell y'all that those grants that we all have talked about have all been applied for. So all the paperwork's been submitted. We're just gotta wait for our process to get back to us. I think Doug had updated y'all in some correspondence about that recently. Similar projects of this magnitude have been financed for 5 to 15 years through a lease purchase agreement with Motorola. Typically, it's a higher interest rate than we can get through tax-exempt financing. The terms through VMO Vaco alternatives were given at 12 and 15 years. He also, Doug, asked for the first payment to be pushed past July 1st, 2024, FY25 budget, which would give the additional time to build financing payments into the budget. In the current budget, FY24 is $100,000 included in the budget, and the board has included $250,000 in the draft FY25 budget. In addition to the annual cost of the debt service, the county and other partners will be responsible for annual maintenance costs beginning year 2 of the project. Several attachments are here. The resolution, the lease agreement, the financial timeline, the offer from VMO Vaco, Webster Bank's offer, and MOUs most recently drafted by our consultants for the town, Longwood, and Hampton, Sydney. So again, staff recommends the proposal for the 15 years at 4.36% with the MOUs being executed as well. I'll try to answer any questions that you have on the financial side.
Any questions? Thank you, sir. Appreciate that. All right, Ms. Puckett, agreement with Cumberland County Board.
You will need a motion.
Oh,
on all
I
of this.
apologize.
No, you're fine.
We need a motion.
Yes, ma'am.
It's on page 132. It's a number of items involved in that motion.
Okay.
Let's make sure we cover them all.
132.
Yes, sir.
I move that the Board of Supervisors approve the attached financing resolution and equipment lease purchase agreement to finance the purchase of countywide P25 UHF Phase 2 trunk radio system from Motorola and the memorandums of agreement, MOA, with the town of Farmville, Longwood University and Hampton College as outlined. Such approval is subject to the approval by the town of Farmville, Longwood University and Hampton College of their respective MOAs for the project. I further move that the board authorize the chairman, county administrator, finance director to sign all necessary financing documents with VML Vaco for the project.
Have a motion. Is there a second?
Second.
Been motion and second. Mr. Gillum?
Yes.
Dr. Pride?
Yes.
Mr. Watson?
Yes.
Mr. Jenkins?
Yes.
Mr. Emmert?
Yes.
Mr. Townsend?
Yes.
Mr. Jones?
Yes.
Patty Cooper Jones, yes. Thank you kindly.
There's another public safety. It seems a little.
On
all the
what
way on
page?
191.
191.
Public
Whenever-
safety, part 2.
Public Safety
So-
Part 2. Okay, on page number 191.
All right, you ready? First of all, thank y'all for all the support on the radio system. I think that's a huge step for public safety. And I know Sheriff, I mean, he'll echo anything that I say as far as what that means to the responders and the community as a whole. Secondly, again, with the radio system, in December, when we entered into this contract, we were nearing the end of phase two with our consultant team that we've been using since day one. The consultants we hired, they came in, they did a full study on our systems in the county. They also helped us develop the plan, negotiations through contract, but that phase has ended. That phase, second phase, was paid for by total grant money, no money out of the county's pocket. It was paid by state homeland security money. Again, those consultants have been huge in this process to make sure we get what we're asking for and that we get what we need in the process. In the final phase, CTA's responsibility would be assisting the county in design review, tower site construction, radio equipment installation, subscriber installation, system testing, system cutover, and final system acceptance. And that's just a few of the highlights. There's a couple other small stuff in there also. The county is actively working on another state homeland security grant to cover the cost of the consultants. However, our project is not stopping, waiting on the grant process. So what we're asking for is the approval to finance the consultants' fees for the next 24 to 30 months to carry the project full circle all the way to the end. $15,000 per month, estimated 24 to 30 months. State Homeland Security grant should be entered in the next probably 30 to 60 days. So I can't really give you anything definitive on that, but that is 100% federally funded grant that we don't have to match if it is approved. I can tell you their worth thus far for the stuff that they've saved us on, their documentation, the MOAs that y'all just approved, they drafted all of that for us. The grants that I've applied for, they've helped basically fill in the blank. You know, I've had to go through and do the paperwork side of it, but they've been pushing information out all day long to me. So very, very well worth the dollars for that company.
So move.
Second.
It's been moved and properly second. Mr. Emmett?
Yes.
Mr. Townsend?
Yes.
Mr. Jones?
Yes.
Mr. Jenkins?
Yes.
Mr. Watson?
Yes.
Dr. Pride?
Yes.
Mr. Gillum? Patty
Yes.
Cooper Jones? Yes.
Thank you, board.
Thank you so much. You ready?
On page 201 is the memorandum of agreement with Cumberland County for the Board of Building Code Appeals. So there is a provision in the Code of Virginia that enables one jurisdiction Board of Building Code Appeals to serve another jurisdiction. And right now, our board serves the town of Farmville, and Cumberland has made the same request. As Doug has outlined, all of the costs for legal expenses and any other costs would be borne by the locality, just as they are with the town of Farmville. But he is asking that the board consider entering into the memorandum of agreement with Cumberland that will allow the Prince Edward County Board of Building Code Appeals to serve as the Cumberland County Local Board of Building Code Appeals.
Sir, who's on that board? I've asked something that we'll find out later.
Give me 1 second, let me see. I think it should be on our website, so give me just 1 second. You know, it meets so rarely, or at least I know it meets so rarely in Prince Edward. In my career, there have been very, very, very few appeals. Let's see, where is that, Karen, under the Board of Supervisors?
You get that to me after a while. I just was wondering, just.
Yeah, I'll look it up and.
I make a motion that the board approve the MOA with Cumberland County that will allow Prince Edward County Board of Building Code Appeals to serve as the Cumberland County Local Board of Building Code Appeals.
It's been motioned.
She wants you to finish reading.
I did. And to authorize the county administrator to sign the MOA as outlined. Sorry about that.
Can I get a second?
Second.
Second by Mr. Watson. Mr. Gillum?
Yes.
Dr. Pride?
Yes.
Mr. Watson?
Yes.
Mr. Jenkins? Mr. Jones?
Yes.
Mr. Townsend?
Yes.
Mr. Emmert?
Yes.
Patty Cooper Jones, yes.
I have that answer now for Mr. Emmert. So there are 5 members. There's Cornelius Jones, Donald R. Amos Jr., Lene Walker, Paul Stolfus, and William Gosnell. And those are appointed by the board. So we'll have a reappointment coming up in June. Y'all appoint those every June.
Right. Thank you, Dr.
Thank you. Ms. Stimpson?
Good evening, members of the board.
Good evening. Good evening.
First item is FY '24 school appropriation. The Board of Supervisors has received 2 requests from the Prince Edward County School Board to appropriate the state funds described below for a total of $19,800 for the 2023-2024 school year, and there is no local match for this appropriation.
So moved.
Second.
Been moved and second. Mr. Jenkins?
Yes.
Mr. Watson?
Yes.
Dr. Pride?
Yes.
Mr. Gillum?
Yes.
Mr. Jones?
Yes.
Mr. Townsend?
Yes.
Mr. Emmert?
Yes.
Patty Cooper Jones, yes.
And the next item is on page 211, and it's the Prince Edward County Public Schools Committed Funds Appropriation. Says the county has received an invoice in the amount of $576,787.46 from Mosley Architects for the renovations to Prince Edward County Elementary School. The PECPS Capital Improvement Committed Fund available balance is currently $49,263.41. The board is asked to transfer $576,787.46 from the Prince Edward County Public Schools Capital Improvement Committed Funds to the school CIP line within the general fund to cover this expense.
So moved.
Excuse me.
It's been moved and second. Mr. Townsend?
Yes.
Mr. Jones?
Yes.
Mr. Emmert?
Yes.
Mr. Gillum?
Yes.
Dr. Pride?
Yes.
Mr. Watson?
Yes.
Mr. Jenkins? Patty Cooper Jones, yes.
Next item is on page 215. The county has received a check in the amount of $18,945.68 on June 28th, 2023, from the Virginia Department of Health from the 2022 4 for Life program calendar year. These funds pursuant to Section 46.2-694 Code of Virginia shall be used only for emergency medical services. The board is asked to approve the carryover appropriation and issuance of funds as follows. Hampden City First Responders, $2,000. Meharron Rescue, $4,236.42. And Peavers, $12,709.26.
Move that the Board of Supervisors approve and appropriate fiscal year '24 budget, supplement and issue funds as outlined.
Second.
Moved and second. Any questions? Mr. Emmert?
Yes.
Mr. Townsend?
Yes.
Mr. Jones?
Yes.
Mr. Jenkins? Mr. Watson?
Yes.
Dr. Pride?
Yes.
Mr. Gillum?
Yes.
Patty Cooper Jones, yes.
Next item is the ARPA equipment grant. The Virginia Department of Criminal Justice Services has awarded Prince Edward County Sheriff's Department an additional $47,000 for a total of $461,000 through ARPA Law Enforcement Grant Program for equipment. This is a reimbursement grant to which no local match is required. The board is asked to appropriate the funds as follows.
So moved.
Second.
It's been moved and second. Any questions? Mr. Jones?
Yes.
Mr. Townsend?
Yes.
Mr. Emmert?
Yes.
Mr. Gillum?
Yes.
Dr. Pride?
Yes.
Mr. Watson?
Yes.
And Mr. Jenkins?
Yes.
And Patty Cooper Jones, yes.
Last item is FY '24 appropriations, Sheriff's Office grants and reimbursements. The Sheriff's Department received state grant and reimbursement funding totaling $15,049.09. Each grant is designated to a specific purpose as required and reported. The board is asked to appropriate the funds as below.
So moved.
Second.
It's been moved and properly second. Any questions? Mr. Jenkins?
Yes.
Mr. Watson?
Yes.
Dr. Pride?
Yes.
Mr. Gillum?
Yes.
Mr. Jones?
Yes.
Mr. Townsend?
Yes.
Mr. Emmert? Patty Cooper Jones? Yes.
Thank you.
Thank you so very much. Now we'll have our county attorney's report.
Good evening, everyone.
Good evening.
I first want to, on a personal note, want to thank Prince Edward County and the board for the wonderful dish garden that they sent upon the death of my brother, Gary Atkins. I certainly appreciate it a lot. Thank you very much. Had a busy month. We've had the Harbor Freight, finally got that closed, and glad to know they're getting underway. We've reviewing a contract for the dedication of Hampton Lane. I don't know if y'all are familiar with that off of Five Forks Road. There's a section there that was owned by a private individual that hooked up to the subdivision there. And so I reviewed a contract that had been sent on behalf of those landowners. We also reviewed and updated the siting agreements that for the Miller Lake and the Piney Grove. Also, approval of a regional drug court treatment docket consulting service contract for getting the drug consulting there. And as also mentioned, we reviewed the community partners with a new radio project from Longwood, Hampton-Sydney, and Farmville. Anyway, we continue to have contracts to review, and things are moving forward. And anybody have any questions or concerns?
Any questions? Thank you, ma'am.
All right, thank y'all very much.
Sorry to hear about Gary.
Thank you.
All right, Ms. Puckett.
Thank you, Madam Chair. The county administrator gave me a few notes on several items, but in the meantime, Bill King asked me to share clarification. The $230,000 cost for trash pickup was residency-wide. He said it was about $70,000 for Prince Edward County. So he just wanted to clarify that so that everybody.
That sounds
Yeah,
better.
that sounds much better.
Much better.
Yes, so I told him I would share that. Other items, the county administrator wanted the board to be aware that Hurton Profit has completed all of the field work and they are processing data and preparing the plat now for the Nottoway Prince Edward boundary line. And they estimate that they are approximately 70% complete. The New Leaf Solar Project, as Mr. Love had indicated earlier, the applicant has withdrawn the application. The county expects the property owner to look at logging the remaining property and potentially further subdivision of residential lots. The CEP solar projects, there are public hearings on the Piney Grove and Miller Lake projects coming up at the May 14th board meeting. He also wanted you to be aware on the Economic Development Strategic Plan, the consultant held an advisory group kickoff meeting this week, or I guess earlier this week, maybe that was last week. In the 2+ hour meeting, they looked at strengths and weaknesses the community has in attracting and retaining economic development and where we should be focusing our efforts. And then after the meeting, Chelsea and Doug gave a tour of the community. The planning process should be completed in the fall. For the Sandy River project RFP response, the county responded to Nottoway County resident Chris Page, who happens to be a member of the Blackstone Town Council, with a partial response on his FOIA request regarding the Sandy River on March the 26th. After discussion, the project team, with the advice of outside legal counsel, felt that publicly disclosing the full county RFI response to a potential competitor would clearly harm the county's efforts to conclude contract negotiations with the Commonwealth in an orderly manner. So after affirming with the FOIA counsel, our outside legal counsel affirmed with the FOIA counsel, we felt the records he requested satisfies each element of the exception of the Code of Virginia 2.2 3705.112. So there was a considerable amount of thought put into that. The elementary school project, the architect has indicated that they anticipate bidding the project on August 1 with an anticipated award date in early October, and based on that schedule, substantial completion would be March the 25th, 2027. It's a pretty specific date. So I think that was,
As long as
those
they
are,
finish it by March 26th, 2027, I'll be happy.
yes. So those are all of the items that the county administrator had shared with me to share with you.
Is there any other items that,
I will call to the board's attention at the bottom of page 225. There are a number of upcoming, I'm going to call them engagement opportunities. The Piedmont Medic Reserve Corps picnic is April the 13th. I believe there's a flyer attached, and that is at Wilkes Lake Island this coming Saturday. The invitation has not come out yet, but the High Bridge Trail State Park Pamplin Extension ribbon cutting is April the 22nd at 1:30. There is a VDOT 6-year improvement program meeting May the 1st in Lynchburg. I know the county administrator typically attends that. There's another VACO certification course for the May-June module. And then anybody interested in the VACO Supervisors Forum, I believe Karen has included, she has the information on that. So if you are interested in attending the VACO County Officials Summit, let's see what it says. I believe, is that a, Karen, is that an overnight or just a day? But get in touch with Karen if you're interested. That's in May. But there may be committee meetings attached to that, like Dr. Pratt, I know you're on a, touch base with Karen if you would like for her to register you for any of those. There are some board emails in your board pack behind correspondence, and I believe that Karen also maybe left one at your place that had come in late. And then monthly reports for your review are item number 21.
all right,
That's all I have.
that's it? And do we adjourn or do we have?
Sir, when is our next,
Board meeting?
no, the one at Moton? Next Thursday, you said, okay.
Is that for the
Plan.
comprehensive plan? Okay. But
Comprehensive.
in the meantime,
When she said Thursday?
Thursday at 7, 6?
Thursday at 6.
is that the 18th, Karen?
18th, yes.
Okay. The 16th, I have that there is a 5:30 work session on the 16th, and then at 7 o'clock is the budget public hearing. Tuesday, April the 16th,
What you got?
at 5:30, there is a work session, and then there is the public hearing on the budget will be at 7. So we would recess until
April 16th at 5?
5:30.
5:30 is the work session.
Let me just.
Unless you really want to get here at 5.
No, I barely can make, as you really well know. Yeah, Madam Chair, I make a motion that we recess until April the 16th at 5:30.
Thank you.
Second.
It's been motion and second, Mr. Emmert.
Yes.
Mr. Townsend,
Yes.
Mr. Jones,
Yes.
Mr. Jenkins, Mr. Watson,
Yes.
Dr. Pratt,
Yes.
Mr. Gillum,
Yes.
Patty Cooper Jones, yes. We are now